Jiang looks at the manager and, without missing a beat, says, "I'll find some fresh hot steaming ones for you later to eat on stream." The manager's smile falters, not sure if he heard correctly, but Jiang is already shifting his attention to a young lady worker nearby. With a confident stride, Jiang approaches the lady worker. She's in her late 20s, neatly dressed, and radiating professionalism. "I'm not here to buy a house," Jiang announces, his voice carrying across the room. "I'm here to buy land. For myself." The lady worker blinks, her professional composure wavering as she exchanges a glance with the real estate manager. Both of them can't quite believe what they're hearing. But before they can question him further, Jiang reaches into his pocket and pulls out a sleek, black pay card. The air in the room shifts as cold sweat begins to form on their foreheads. Around them, other customers start to murmur, eyes widening in shock. "Buying land?" One of them whispers incredulously. "Does he even know how much that costs?" Another customer, an older man, shakes his head. "I've never seen anyone buy land like that so easily. He must be incredibly wealthy." The lady worker, snapping out of her stupor, regains her composure and says, "Please, follow me. I'll give you the best detailed introduction we have." She leads him through the office, past the rows of cubicles and agents who can't help but stare as they pass by. The lady worker gestures for Jiang to sit on a comfortable chair in a private consultation room. She lays out several documents and maps on the table, detailing various plots of land. "These are the available plots we have at the moment," she explains. "Please take your time to choose the one that suits your needs." Jiang glances at the documents, but his interest is fleeting. "There's no need to look through all these," he says, leaning back in his chair. "I'll just tell you my requirements, and you can find the land that matches." The lady worker nods, a bit taken aback by his decisiveness. "Very well, what are your requirements?" Jiang's eyes narrow thoughtfully. "It needs to be near mountains and water, for a reliable water source. Convenient transportation is a must, and it should have large buildings already on the land." Before she can respond, the real estate manager, who had been hovering nearby, cuts in. "There's a piece of land in the East District that fits those requirements." The lady worker turns to him, surprised. "The East District? But there are still unfinished factory projects there. We can't sell land like that to a client." The manager's face darkens with frustration. "This broke loser's requirements are outrageous. There's no one to complete it in time." Jiang thinks for a moment, his mind already racing ahead. "It's perfect," he mutters to himself. "The location fits all my needs, and the unfinished factories will save me a lot of money. Plus, with some barbed wire, it'll be easy to defend." He turns to the lady worker, his decision made. "I'll take that piece of land. Let's draw up the contract, and I'll pay right away." The lady worker hesitates, clearly uncomfortable. "I'm sorry, but are you sure?" The land has unfinished projects, and Jiang cuts her off with a wave of his hand. "I'm sure. Someone's waiting to eat fresh poop later, so let's hurry up with the contract and the down payment." The real estate manager, who had been sneering in the background, suddenly goes pale, cold sweat dripping down his face. Moments later, he's holding a receipt in his trembling hands, disbelief etched on his features. "It's impossible," he mutters. He really paid a $300,000 down payment. How can someone buy such expensive land for millions of dollars when the projects aren't even finished? Jiang glances at him, unfazed. "I've made the down payment. Now, it's up to you to perform in front of the camera. You should at least enjoy it." The manager stares at him, dumbfounded, as Jiang turns on his heel and walks away. Around them, the other customers exchange glances, some pulling out their phones to start a live stream. "Hey, he's turned on the live stream," one of them says, nudging the manager. "You need to hurry up." Another customer, holding his stomach, groans. "My stomach doesn't feel good, but I promise it'll be fresh for you." Jiang ignores the commotion behind him, his mind already moving to the next challenge. "I've spent all the bride money on this land," he thinks, "but now I need to figure out how to get more money to stockpile supplies." As Jiang exits the real estate office, deep in thought, a fat man walks past him, his heavy footsteps echoing on the pavement. The man, dressed in a suit that strains against his bulging frame, pauses and turns around, narrowing his eyes at Jiang's retreating back. Is that Jiang? He wonders, to himself. He shakes his head, dismissing the thought, and continues on his way. But when he reaches the office, he's greeted by a shocking sight. The real estate manager, surrounded by a small crowd, is being forced to eat something unspeakable. "What the hell is going on here?" the fat man roars, his voice filled with anger and disbelief. Meanwhile, across town, an elegant woman sits at a vanity table, meticulously painting her nails. Her phone buzzes, interrupting her concentration. She glances at the screen and her lips curl into a smile when she sees who's calling. "Hello," she purrs into the phone. "Do you still remember me?" The voice on the other end cuts her off abruptly. "Did you know that Jiang went to the real estate company to buy an expensive piece of land?" The smile drops from her face, replaced by a look of shock. "What? How can a broke loser like Jiang pay for something that expensive?" "He made a 300,000 down payment," the fat man explains, his voice laced with disbelief. "He must have used the bride money." The woman's face twists with fury. "How dare that bastard use my money? That money is mine." "Calm down," the fat man advises. "You need to figure out what's going on with him. I wouldn't want to underestimate him." The woman's eyes narrow as she considers her options. "I'll expose him online," she says with venom in her voice. "I'll ruin him for using my money behind my back." Back at Jiang's place, he's still lost in thought, considering how to finance his next move. Suddenly, a loud bang on the door startles him. He turns to see the evil woman standing there, her friend by her side, both of them looking furious. "What are you doing here?" Jiang asks, trying to keep his voice steady. The evil woman steps forward, her eyes blazing. "How could you spend my money behind my back like that?" Jiang is taken aback. "What are you talking about? I know everything," she snaps. "You used my bride money to buy that land, and since it was my money, that land is mine." Jiang's expression hardens, anger bubbling up inside him. "Have you lost your mind? That land isn't yours. And by the way, I have plenty of money," he says, pulling out a stack of cash and slapping her with it. The evil woman is momentarily stunned, her mouth hanging open in shock. "And don't think I don't know about your little affair with the fat man," Jiang adds, his voice low and dangerous. "You've been cheating on me for a long time, haven't you?" The woman's face drains of color as she stammers. How do you know about that?" Her friend, sensing the tension, steps in. "It's just a misunderstanding, really." "You two should." "There's no misunderstanding," Jiang interrupts coldly. "A cheating woman like you isn't my girlfriend anymore. Go back to your fat man." With that, he slams the door in their faces, his patience completely spent. Outside, the evil woman stands frozen, her mind racing. How did he know about the affair? We were always so discreet when we booked those rooms. Her thoughts swirl in confusion and anger. Her friend, sensing her distress, tries to comfort her. "Maybe it's best if we just go for now. We can figure out a plan to handle Jiang later." The evil woman's face twists with frustration, but she nods slowly. "You're right. That's all we can do at the moment." But as they turn to leave, her friend hesitates. "Wait," the friend says, a sly smile creeping onto her face. "Since you've messed things up with Jiang, maybe this is my chance to get closer to him. After all, we're supposed to be good sisters, right?" The evil woman barely notices the implication, too lost in her own thoughts. Back at the construction site where Jiang purchased the land, he stands amid the partially completed structures, surveying the area. A middle-aged man in a hard hat, clearly the foreman, approaches him, looking concerned. "Mr. Jiang," the foreman begins, "how long do you expect these renovations to take?" The foreman swallows nervously but presses on. "But sir, finishing this project in a month's time is nearly impossible. The cost alone will be enormous." Jiang's eyes narrow. "How much?" The foreman hesitates, then gives a figure. "To rush the job and increase the work intensity, it'll cost at least 20 million. Jiang raises an eyebrow. "Is 20 million enough?" he asks, his tone icy. The foreman nods, trying to maintain his composure. "Yes, but we'll need a 5 million deposit to start immediately." Jiang nods and replies, "You'll have the money within a week. Start building now." The foreman tries to interject, but Jiang cuts him off. "If I don't pay, the land will be yours." So don't worry about the payment, just get to work. The foreman nods reluctantly and heads back to his crew to relay the orders. As Jiang turns to leave the site, he hears a familiar voice calling out his name. He turns around to see the friend of the evil woman running toward him, her expression eager. She clings to Jiang's arm, smiling up at him. "What are you doing here?" she asks, her tone sweet.